Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a look into the Word. It's been a busy week. We've been doing recordings every day. Crazy. They're getting longer, too. A lot of good stuff. So tonight's topic is going to be titled True Wisdom. We're going to be right back in the book of Job. We like this book, obviously. And we're going to be in 1 Corinthians, if you'd like to follow along, which is always suggested. So we're going to start with just some basic things about a few of the characters we talked about Job the other day, and today we're talking about wisdom, not necessarily tribulation. There's four main characters, obviously. I shouldn't say that, Elihu and obviously God. But I'm going to give you sources of wisdom based on these four characters, each one. Eliphaz says, I've personally observed how God works and have figured him out. Well, that's not a statement I think any of us want to make. Bildad, those who have gone before us figured God out, and all we have to do is use that knowledge. Zophar, the wise know what God is like, but there aren't many of us around. And then Job, God reveals his wisdom to those who humbly trust him. So you have four very different perspectives on wisdom. I think the best course for us to take is obviously be humble and know that the only source of wisdom is in fact God. I'm going to read you a passage from Job. This is Job speaking of wisdom and understanding in general. And this is Job 28, verse 13. Actually, we'll start with verse 12. But do people know where to find wisdom? Where can they find understanding? No one knows where to find it, for it is not found among the living. It is not here, says the ocean, nor is it here, says the sea. It cannot be bought with gold, it cannot be purchased with silver. It's worth more than all the gold of Ophir, greater than precious onyx or lapis lazuli. Wisdom is more valuable than gold and crystal. It cannot be purchased with jewels mounted in fine gold. Coral and jasper are worthless in trying to get it. The price of wisdom is far above rubies. Precious peridot from Ethiopia cannot be exchanged for it. It's worth more than the purest gold. But do people know where to find wisdom? Where can they find understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all humanity. Even the sharp-eyed birds in the sky cannot discover it. Destruction and death say, we've heard only rumors of where wisdom can be found. God alone understands the way of wisdom. He knows where it can be found, for he looks throughout the whole earth and sees everything under the heavens. He decided how hard the wind should blow and how much rain should fall. He made the laws for the rain and laid out a path for the lightning. Then he saw wisdom and evaluated it. He set it in place and examined thoroughly. And this is what he says to all humanity. The fear of the Lord is true wisdom. To forsake evil is real understanding. And I completely agree with that. You know, when we've gone through our experiences and our testimony, we see completely how foolish we've been, right? When we thought we were smart, when we had all this pride. And when that's broken, when we're broken on the cornerstone that is Christ, we see just how foolish we've been. It's amazing. God always said he would use the simple things to confound the wise of this world. When we get into 1 Corinthians, you'll see another statement. And just to give you a little background on the three characters, including Job, that we read before, these were the three friends that came to talk to Job in his time of struggle. And they were supposedly there for help, but they ended up making the situation worse and arguing or pretty much telling him that he was wrong, and then telling them why they were right and their view of God. And God, rebukes them at the end, saying that they had the wrong interpretation and perception of him. They had fragments of their story that were correct, but overall their view was flawed because none of us have a complete view of God. We can't. We have a very partial view, and a lot of times it benefits us to bridle our tongue. Now we can use this in just everyday situations to where when you're coming to speak into someone's life with compassion and not judgment, you're slow to speak, right? You're quick to listen, but you're slow to speak, understanding, wanting to see more of the situation than just what you might initially assume. Now, from this last passage, Job stated that wisdom cannot be found among the living. It's natural for people who do not understand the importance of God's word to seek wisdom here on earth. And we've seen this a lot when people say, well, I'll trust in God when science proves it. Well, excuse me? I mean, these are the things where people are seeking truth. And Jesus is the truth. And it's funny, it's such a simple thing to explain to people, but again, people want to lean onto their own understanding, which throws stuff off. They look to philosophers and other leaders to give them direction for living. And you'll notice something. People are on this endless search. But it doesn't have to be endless. It really ends with Christ. And they're seeking all these different books and gurus and all these different things that are going on. And meanwhile, it just takes them on a circular path where they just keep on spinning their wheels wondering why. And then when you find Christ, he makes you free. That's the key thing. That's the liberty that most people are seeking, is why are we here? What's the purpose of our lives? And it's to, find Christ, serve your brother and sister, to help them. It's not these other things that the world has told you that it's about. No leader or group of leaders can produce enough knowledge or insight to explain the totality of the human experience. That's why you'll get fragments and you'll still want more, right? Jesus quoted, I believe it was in John, where the bread that you seek, or the water when the woman's at the well, you're going to be thirsty again. What I offer you, you'll never thirst again. And the woman's like, I'd like some of this water of life, which is the Word of God. The ultimate interpretation of life, of who we are and where we are going, must come from the outside and above our mortal life. We're looking for guidance. We have to seek God's wisdom as it's revealed in the Bible, the Word of God, to be lifted above and beyond the boundaries of life. We must know and trust the Lord. That's the key thing. It's funny. We want an answer for life using our human understanding. And when we realize we're shown stuff as we can handle it, it doesn't come all at once. And we're impatient, right? We've become a very impatient people. And so we have to take a step back and go, God, show me. I don't have the answers, and I'm sorry for when my pride got in the way. Please correct me and show me in truth. So let's go ahead to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, and let's start with verse 18, because again, we're going from Old and New Testament, showing how the Bible just parallels. It answers the questions that people are seeking, which is why I always say, don't listen to me. Check this in the Bible yourself. And this is labeled Christ, God's power and wisdom. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? And I'll stop right there. Every time we think we understand something about this world, God reveals something else and shows just how little we know. And I'll give an example before I move on. For a very long time, the medical industry claimed the brain interprets information and then tells the rest of the body. More recently, and this can change again, there was a study done, and they hooked up a brain and a heart to a machine. They'd show a person images of serpents and rainbows and flowers. Now, here was the amazing thing. The body knew the image, meaning there was a reaction, and this was measured from an EEG and an ECG, knew the reaction and had a definitive response, whether it was of disgust for a snake or joy for like a flower, prior to the image coming up. Now, it gets even crazier than that, because the heart processed the image prior to the brain, meaning it was heart told the brain, told the body. And this changed everything, because once again, that completely conflicts with our understanding of how the body works, showing that it's functioning on a metaphysical level. I think that's just beautiful. But let's move on. For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew it not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. But we preach Christ crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks foolishness. But unto them which are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. Because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. For you see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. Now, I think that's amazing, right? It tells you firsthand the things that we seek after in this world, specifically knowledge, starts to fall apart. And every day you see things starting to come undone, more now than ever, because we're in that season. We're in that season. And, people are turning to mankind to answer the questions that man simply cannot answer. And these are the times when we go out and we sow these seeds. And again, it can be frustrating, but we have to understand something. We didn't wake ourselves up. So with a sincere heart, there'll be patience when you're telling your brother and sister or a person that someone else might construe as lost, it doesn't mean you're condoning bad behavior. But we were called to go out there and get our hands dirty, not to sit at home and saying, well, I can't be involved in anything because the world's dark. Well, Jesus told us he was sending us as sheep among wolves. So you know where you're at. You're a light in the darkness, right? Darkness does not overcome light. People simply turn their flashlights off. Always remember that when you're out there. And keep in mind, he will not give you more than you can handle. You might think it's more than you can handle. But again, if he's with us, right? He who is in us is greater than he who is in the world. And when you take these sayings and you see each day as you seek him more and more is given to you, it's easier. And that truly is laying down your life for your brother and sister so you can help them because you see what's coming. You see the alternative. It's like a child that's drowning and you have options. Number one, you could yell at the child, right? Condemn them for not knowing how to swim, or you can throw them a life jacket. All right? Until next time, I'm LP. We'll see you. God bless.